Who are your top 5 wide receivers in the NFL right now?
So my top 5 receivers, starting from 5 all the way to 1, are going to be at number 5. I'm going to have Mike Evans, a staple of consistency since he has been in the league. He's had about 7, if not 8, 1,000-yard seasons consecutively. Has always been an end zone threat, and the man has done it with a multitude of quarterbacks. Whether that's Jameis Winston, Tom Brady, Josh Freeman, you name it, he's been able to do it. So I mean, just the fact that he is just that main point, that top person to go for Tom. I'm gonna just make sure that I have him at 5. Stephon Diggs, his ability to create separation, his ability to run extremely crisp and incredible routes, and then of course he has the ability to get into the end zone with the great arm of Josh Allen. Number 3, I'm gonna shock a lot of people here. I'm gonna put Cooper Kupp for the sheer fact of the fact that he only had an incredible year last year. Last year, he broke a lot of records. There were 17 games. Him and Matt Stafford connected it in what seemed to be every way possible. But outside of last season, I haven't really seen a lot of Cooper Kupp. He's only had one 1,000-yard season outside of last year. So I'm going to need him to do it again. For last year's incredible statistical capability, I give him the benefit of the doubt in putting him in my top 5. But there was a piece of me saying begrudgingly, he's only had one really, really good year. But for the sake that they won the Super Bowl MVP, he's my top 3. Number 2, Justin Jefferson. Out of LSU, since he's gotten into the league, I mean, the man has absolutely dominated at the wide receiver position. Despite Minnesota's ineptitude to stop people on the defensive side of the ball, there's never been an issue in terms of him getting open, him putting up numbers, and him absolutely torching opposing defensive backs. Justin Jefferson, 100%, is going to be my number 2. And then at number 1, Davante Adams, man. What he's been able to do out there in Green Bay, the separation he can do, the catch radius, the vertical, the speed. I mean, Davante is the full package. He can do it all. He is the do-all at all-time wide receivers, double-teamed, no matter the route, fly, post, drag route, hitch. I mean, he can just literally do everything you want a wide receiver to do in this league. It's just a matter of will Derek Carr be able to give him the same consistency than Aaron Rodgers did.
So at number 5, I have DeAndre Hopkins of the Arizona Cardinals. What can I say about D-Hop? He's one of the best wide receivers in the game, whether he was with the Houston Texans when he first got his start, or now that we've transitioned to him playing with the Arizona Cardinals alongside Kyler Murray at the helm. He's just been a model of consistency. Granted, last year he did go through some injury issues that definitely hampered his season, but the year prior to that, D-Hop was putting up almost around 1,500 yards in that regular season, going back to 2020. So you take away the injury-riddled year of last season away, D-Hop is just an amazing wide receiver in the NFL, one of the most crisp route runners in the NFL, could be able to gain any sort of separation from whatever sort of defender he's going up against, and he's definitely well deserving to be in my top 5, and I have him at number 5. At number 4, I have Stephon Diggs. Diggs for Buffalo has been amazing since he's arrived there just a couple years ago. He was great during his tenure with the Minnesota Vikings, and then goes to Buffalo, gets to play alongside Josh Allen, who has one of the most powerful throwing arms in the NFL. And he's put that to good use by establishing great rapport and great chemistry with Stephon Diggs. Did have a little bit more of a down year statistically last year compared to the year before, where he was just absolutely lighting it up with Buffalo. But even with that said, Stephon Diggs is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. You can make a very good case that he is single-handedly the best wide receiver in the AFC just because of what he's able to do as far as his productivity goes on a year in, year out basis. And I do believe that he will have a bounce back type of year compared to the down year he had statistically last year. But overall, he definitely deserves to be in the top 5, and I have him at number 4. At number 3, I have Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is already in my top 3 when it comes to NFL wide receivers, and that's despite the fact that he's only been in the league for 2 seasons. He had a phenomenal year last year with the Minnesota Vikings in his second year, and when you have somebody like Kirk Cousins who's throwing you the ball consistently, that's a great quarterback to get matched up with and be able to exploit defenses that are covering him, and he has done that tenfold, and he improved quite tremendously from his rookie season. The first 2 years, I mean, the rookie year specifically had over 1,000 yards receiving, and then in year 2 just goes absolutely nuts, going for over 1,600 yards receiving. The guy is just an amazing athlete at such a young age. And I imagine as time goes on, I think there's a very real possibility that we could be looking at Justin Jefferson being the best wide receiver in the NFL in the very foreseeable future. I don't think he's at that point yet. I still think that there's a little bit more for him to go to. I just need a little bit more consistency for maybe another year or two. But I definitely think that he is well deserving to be a top 3 NFL wide receiver right now. And I could definitely see him being potentially one of the best, if not the best wide receiver within the next couple of years. At number 2, I have Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp, to me, had one of the best statistical seasons that we've ever seen from an NFL wide receiver when it came to his overall production. When it came to receiving yards, he was only 15 to 20 yards away from out pursuing Calvin Johnson for the most receiving yards in a single season. The guy had over 1,900 yards receiving, was single-handedly the most focal piece of the offense in that wide receiver core, and that did include some names that had guys like Robert Woods and Odell Beckham, and yet he was still able to set himself apart from everybody else on his own team and throughout the entire league. He was by far and away the best wide receiver in the NFL last year. It wasn't even close. When you have Matt Stafford throwing him the ball consistently with the amount of targets that he was receiving by every single game that they played, I just imagine that type of consistency is going to continue going into this year. They're coming off of a Super Bowl title. So all in all, I think Cooper Kupp is going to become probably the most productive NFL receiver for at least the next couple of years. And I think he's well deserving to be number 2 in my list. And then it goes to number 1. I have Davante Adams at that number 1 spot. What can I say about Davante Adams? Granted, he is going from the Packers to the Raiders, so there will be a little bit of a transitionary period for him. But when it comes to his overall skill set, Davante Adams is clearly the number 1 receiver, just based off of the fact that he is able to find any sort of space despite whatever sort of coverage he's going up against, whether it's loose coverage or whether it's zone, whether it's man. It doesn't really matter who he's going up against in the secondary. He's able to make space whenever he needs to, and he has great hands to be able to catch the ball consistently. He doesn't really drop the ball that often. And granted, I thought him and Aaron Rodgers, it was essentially a money in the bank connection for years. I think that was the best quarterback to wide receiver duo that we had in the NFL. That will be a little bit different, but with Derek Carr and Davante Adams, essentially old college teammates linking back up together, I do think that both Derek Carr and Davante Adams will be able to link up the chemistry pretty quickly, and I'm pretty sure that Davante Adams will continue that type of production that he had with the Green Bay Packers for years and continue that same success for the Las Vegas Raiders going into this upcoming season.